Hey everyone, how's it going? Dr. Chosen here on vacation. I got a bunch of people requesting that I go over KLAWF, not only the updated deck lists that I've been playing with for this season, that I've been winning a few locals with, not winning, but I've been topping them, and then also to go over a very in-depth guide on each matchup, and so you guys can get a better understanding of how to play the deck, and more specifically, like, different ways you can pilot it, because the cool thing about this deck is it has a lot of flexibility for each matchup. Like, you don't always have to go for the all-in. You can kind of set up these weird board states and like boss up something and take it down with poison or Devolution now. But anyways, I'm gonna talk about the deck list I've been playing with for the past like 2 weeks. Actually, I think I haven't changed a card since I got 2nd place and then 9th at a local. So I played 2 locals, and I've been doing pretty well. Been playing a ladder. I'm only at like Umbreon, I'm not even at Ultra League right now. But regardless, having a lot of fun. I think this deck list I have here is the best. It's been a very long time since I've changed a single card, which doesn't really happen. Normally I'm always like changing 1 or 2 cards every other game because I'm so indecisive. But this list specifically has just felt so clean, and I've been enjoying it, and so let's go ahead and get into it. So starting off, what you'll notice is there's no Bidoof B-Barrel. We've cut that. At first, I was looking at the San Antonio KLAWF lists. 2 KLAWF lists got top 200 San Antonio. One of them was playing B-Barrel, one was not. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think playing B-Barrel is bad. I know it sounds crazy to like, but getting to draw so many cards is so good. Yeah, but the cool thing about this list is you don't have to draw any cards. Well, that's not true. You don't have to waste your bench space on a B-Barrel to draw, because we're playing 4 Trekking Shoes, we're playing 3 extra supporters, and with the Seal Stone and Energy Loto, we're just able to consistently get what we need without, wasting board space for something like a B-Barrel. And it also allows us to play more tech slots. Like, for example, if you want to play Jirachi, or if you want to play Manaphy, or if you want to play Spiritomb for the V Pokemon. All these are now, you have so much more bench space now for those type of things, which is what I really like about this list. So let me go a little bit more in depth right now. So, for KLAWF, that's never going to change. For a while I was thinking maybe we'd try 3, but nah, 4. It's the best starter. We're not going to change that. 3 Brute. I have had games where people will try and boss down on the Brutes, and then we run out when we're playing 2, or if one's prize or both are prize. 3 Brute is, we're just going to play 3. I like 3. 3 Brute, 3 Capsule. 3 Electrode, kind of the same deal as 2 Brute. I don't know, I just like having 3, and if we're cutting the B-Barrel, we can afford to have more basic Pokemon that we're going to start with, right? Because honestly, all we want is to be able to attack as soon as possible. So, 3 Electrode better than 2. 1 Sneasler, that's nothing really to talk about there, that's for the poison. 1 Squawk. So in total, we're playing 12 Pokemon. I was playing Spiritomb for a while. Feel free to play Spiritomb, Jirachi, Manaphy. Like I said, anything like that, those are all awesome picks as well. And then for our supporter line, it's actually really clean, and I'm very happy with it, because I hate playing one of supporters. I saw some lists playing Grant. I saw some Raihan. Just play 3 Iono, 3 Boss, 3 Research, 3 Arven. The best 4 supporters in the game, just play 3 of each, and you're good. I like the Research because there are a lot of times with this, because every Pokemon in this deck is a basic, so many times we can just play them all to the bench, Research, right? Or play them all, and we have like 1 or 2 cards that we can't really use, like supporters, and then we can Iono our supporters, right? Or we can like play everything Boss, play everything Arven, right? Arven is super insane in this deck. I can't believe I posted the deck list for San Antonio without Arven. After playing more, Arven is insane. You Battle VIP, you get Forest Seal Stone. If you're able to have Arven on 1, you're always going to be able to attack because you're going to pick everything you need. So, Arven is crazy in this deck. We're going to play Arven, and I apologize for being an Arven touter before. 4 Curry, 4 VIP, 4 Trekking. I come from Hearthstone where a card like Trekking is broken. I know a lot of people are kind of on the fence about Trekking as a card. I think this is a perfect deck for it. I just love having a 56 card deck. That's pretty much it. You could cut one and play a 4th Nest Ball. That'd be pretty much the only change I would make. If you don't want to play the 4 Trekking, you could play 4 Nest Ball over 4 Trekking and like that 3-4, you know what I mean? 2 Escape Rope, 2 Energy Loto. We're back on the Energy Loto. I'd cut it, but I realized that like Energy Loto gives us so much flexibility, and I'll talk about that more in the matchups where Energy Loto is good, like Miraidon, for example, Lost Box. Zard, for example, is great. Gholdengo, I mean, that's not as popular as a deck, but it's a bad matchup, but Energy Loto really helps, and I'll explain why in a bit. 2 Switch Cart, 3 Capsule. You could play 4, like I said, you could go 4 Capsule. 2 Seal Stone, you could go 1 Seal Stone for a Capsule or a Nest Ball. Or you could play, cut it for a Spiritomb or Jirachi. The only cards I would switch from the list right now would be maybe 1 less Seal Stone if you don't really care about it being priced too much, and then maybe 1 less Trekking Shoes if you want to go that route. But again, for Trek, I really like the 56 card list with the Trekking Shoes. Devolution. I was first hesitant about playing this. I saw some lists playing it, but it's not so much that Devolution is outright insane. I mean, it is insanely strong tool card, don't get me wrong. Yes, we have to have a double turbo attached for it, but like we have 2 Energy Loto, we're always going to have one because we have a Klawf ready anyways. But what Devolution does for this deck is it allows us to not go all in and save resources. Like, for example, if they have a guarantee in a V-Star, which is 280 health, we can't one-shot it, okay? But what we can do is 230 to it with a Burn Poison Electrode. Then we let them go ahead on prize cards. We Iono them, we Town Store for the Devolution, and then we attack with Devolution, knocking out the Tina, and maybe sometimes we'll hit to 2 Tinas, and then not only did we get to play a supporter, but we also got to knock out the Tina without having to use Boss as a supporter. And you could make the argument for counter catcher, right? But Devolution, just like, for example, the Zard matchup, which I'll go into more depth about, it opens up so much flexibility where we just never need to bench Electrodes, because we can kind of just play slow, let them overextend into a Devolution, and even if they try to play around it, like, by only, like, keeping one thing active, then we're like, okay, then we will just respond like we normally do with Electrode or Klawf. So it just gives the deck a lot of flexibility, and that's why I'm super set on playing it. So 1 Bravery Charm. The Bravery Charm is super important. Not only there's a counter to Iron Hands on our Klawf, which, I mean, we're already good against Iron Hands, but it kind of just like makes it that much harder for the deck to come back. But also for Lost Box, Cramorant now falls behind 2 prizes, which is super insane. So I do like the 1 Bravery. Again, you could do 2 Bravery, but I don't know, having that many tools that are kind of dead on their own, like sometimes you can just open a hand that's all tools and you feel really bad, right? But it doesn't happen super often. 3 Town Store, obviously if we're going to play like 6 or 7 tool cards, we're going to play 3 Town Store. That's never changing, that's pretty core, it's been core. 1 Collapsed, I'm back on the Collapsed Stadium because I like, when we're ahead with this deck, you kind of, like, I actually like fishing for Collapse, because it they'll try and load up damage, like, with, Lost Mine, or, like, Greninja, or, like, Double Gunner, things on our Squawk, and then we collapse it away, and we effectively wasted their turn, right, because they were going to set up to knock out the Squawk, they can't do it anymore. Same goes with, like, an Electrode. If they, like, punch into an Electrode for, like, 160, well, we just collapse it away. It's not like it's a huge detriment, because it's so easy to set up, right? And then again, 4 double turbo. So let me now put the deck list down, and let me pull up each, we'll go through the deck list actually in the client and whatnot. Okay, you guys can see this? Cool. Okay, I'm gonna go through each matchup now. As best of my ability, I'm a little tired, so please bear with me, but I'm trying my best to get this video out by Wednesday night. So, gonna go through each matchup, and I've played a lot of games this season, and I hit a huge win streak with this deck once I finally got the list I like. So I hate that you have to like turn on the settings first, right? Okay, so let's start with Charizard, because Charizard is kind of like the big deck right now that everyone's saying it's like the most consistent deck. And I was playing against it for a while, and I was honestly losing a lot as Electrode when because if you're not able to boss the Rotom on one to go up 2 prizes, you kind of fall behind, because they're always going to counter catcher or boss in response. And so it creates these really awkward early games where you like don't want to take a knockout because then they one-shot your Trode, but if you don't take a knockout and they choose not to attack and take a slower turn, then you're behind anyways, you know. So the way to play against Zard is if you're going first, your priority is to get a Sneasler active, because they're gonna want to stick a Mew and end their turn with a Mew in the active, right? Or sorry, that's what they want in their active, right? If you get a Sneasler, you can just poison turn 1 their Mew, and it'll go down to 30 HP. And if they don't attach or treat it, it's going to be knocked out going into your turn. They're gonna have to send something up, and even if it's a basic, you can now hit into it, and now you're gonna be up 2 prizes anyways, which is all you need. Once you're up 2 prizes in this matchup, it's super free. So again, that's only if you're going first. If you're going first, your priority should be Sneasler, Poison, and having maybe a Klawf. But you should never bench Electrode in this matchup if you don't have to. If you do not need to force Seal Stone, don't bench Electrode. You can win the matchup without Electrode, which is kind of crazy, because you can just wait, you can punch into a Charizard, you can punch into something, and then you can Devo it for prizes. Or you can not even punch into it, and you can just wait till they go like Pidgeot Zard or Pidgeot Zard, Devo, and now they're like, okay, I have like one or two candies left, right? On average, one might be prized 50% of the time, maybe not 50%, but you know. Point is, like, you can just play it super slow, and for whatever reason, if they only take 1 prize, like let's say they send up a Charizard, you run 2 Rope, you run 2 Switch Cart, you can just drop the Trode, switch it to the active, Curry, Poison, you take the prize, and now you're ahead in the prize race, and now if they respond, you just repeat, you know, rinse, recycle, repeat. Now you can, once you bench 1 Trode and you're leaving 1 Trode, you can bench the other or the third, right? Because if they're going to knock out 1, you'd rather have the other one already set up. Whereas if you just have 1 down and they boss it, that feels really bad, and you should try to avoid doing that. But so, yeah, some key things. If you're going second, try to get a boss on a Rotom if they Rotom up. If not, try to force an Escape Rope to knock out the Pidgey. So, let's say they have here's a very common setup. I wish I could have images for you guys, but I'm just going to verbalize it. Hopefully you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. If you have, let's say they have a Mew active, right? You're going second. They have Mew active, a Charmander on the bench, a Pidgey on the bench, and a Rotom on the bench, right? That's pretty common. You're active, you have Klawf, right? You have Klawf, you have a Brute on the bench, no Trode, you have like a Sneasler, maybe a Squawk, right? What you want to do is have a Klawf and a Trode on the bench, and then you play Escape Rope. If they send up the Charmander, you are free to bench Electrode because your Electrode will not be responded the next turn. So you can play, now you can be aggressive with getting your Electrodes out, because the only Charmander that could retaliate as a Charizard is now gone. On top of that, let's say they do have 2 Charmanders and you can't take it and you have to bench an Electrode anyways. What you can do is you can attach a Bravery Charm to the Electrode, and it will put it to 260, and if they boss it up from the bench, it is 10 off, or 20 off, because the Burning Darkness on this will do 180 plus 60, which is 240. The Bravery Charm with the Electrode will be 20 damage, it'll be 20 less. So they can't actually retaliate that way, which is kind of cool. So yeah, there are a lot of ways you can play against Zard. Overall, I think we're actually favored once you're playing the TM Devolution, because it gives us more flexibility. If you're not playing TM Devo, you can still follow the same kind of game plan, prize map, as I said before, but I think you should just play TM Devo, because not only Zard, but it's also good against Gardy, it's also good against Urshifu and Giratina Venusaur. So all those decks pretty good against, that's why I've elected to play it. But that's pretty much the end of the Zard matchup. Let's go ahead and get to the next one. Okay, Tina Lost Box. This is another big one. These basically Lost Box Zard are the first place and second place decks of the San Antonio Regional. For those of you guys who watched, this matchup is actually pretty good, I think, compared to the normal Turbo Sableye Lost Box. And like I said before, what you want to do actually, you can take, it depends. If they have like 1 or 2 Comfeys, you can kind of just punch into the Comfeys and slow down their Lost Box acceleration. But if they kind of have like 3 Comfeys and it seems like they're gonna get the Mirage Gate on 2 or 3 anyways, or like regardless, what I like to do is boss up a Tina, because if they don't have an Escape Rope or like I mean, they run a lot, but they can't just like attack retreat, or they can't just beach cord it away, right? So you can boss it to the active and just hit it for like, even if you just hit it for like 170, when they put it to a V-Star, you're going to be able to respond to it, right? Which you would rather be able to finish it later than like have it go to the bench. But another big thing is, let's say it's a V-Star, for example. Let me pull it up right now. The V-Star, right? 280. We can't one-shot it. But what we can do is we can set it to 50, and then if it goes to the bench, and let's say they like, for example, what they like to do is they like to counter catcher like a Brute, set up Sableye, and try to snap the bench. Our response to that would be, we attach a double turbo to the Brute, we de-evolve the Giratina V-Star, and we take 2 prizes from the bench without having to use a boss's order, which is super relevant. And also, there are just some times where like they Giratina V-Star and they use like a Lost Impact or a Star Requiem, and they don't have the energy. And then we let them get ahead in the prize race, which is actually the only matchup where we kind of like let them get ahead. Then we Iono them to like 3 with the Giratina in the active, and then they kind of just whiff because they're kind of all out of stuff at that point. They can't retreat it to get to a Comfey, right? Because they use all their switch cards a lot of the time to get to the spot. I was losing this matchup a lot until I started aggressively Ionoing them and letting them kind of take the prize lead, and then not playing into Roxanne's the biggest thing, where like try to get to 4 prizes, and then once you're at 4 prizes, try to jump straight to 2 if possible, instead of going to 3, because if you go to 3, they're going to Roxanne you, and the game becomes a lot harder. Same type of game style goes for the non-Giratina Lost Box list, where they just play crams. You just want to go up 2 prizes by forcing them to hit into a Bravery Charm and hoping they can't vacuum it away, and then using your Electrodes as like sponges for damage. And what you can do, because this list isn't playing B-Barrel, this is like a huge thing. We can play Switch Cart now, and we never have to worry about anything getting stuck in the active. And Switch Cart is actually huge against Lost Box. So we Switch Cart, we heal, and we can also even Curry, heal for 40, Switch Cart, heal for 70, and then there goes 50 of the 100, or 70 of the 120 lost mind damage. It's just completely gone from the board. So, basically in this matchup, you only really need 1 or 2 Curries in order to deal the extra 100 to the Giratina. The other 2 or 3 Curries you can just use to heal damage to make sure they get out of Greninja range or out of Sableye range. So, that's pretty much how to play against Tina. Gholdengo. This deck's bane of existence because, like I said, we can't. If you saw my San Antonio video, I was saying how this is like one of the next worst matchups besides Guardy. And the reason is because it resists the Electrode, and we can't one-shot it with Klawf. But TM Devolution actually makes this matchup a lot better. I had a game today where I punched into a Gholdengo, right? And then I poisoned, I had poisoned like something else, and so it has like two Gholdengos. Basically, one had like 60 damage on it, and the other one had like 170 from a punch, right? And then I was able to Devo and get 2 prizes without wasting a boss. And then another time I was able to like Devo, take the 2 prizes on like the 2 different what was it? Oh, the Palkia V-Star active that died from poison, and then I de-evolved the Gholdengo on the bench. And so I was able to take 3 prizes to win the game without even having a boss, which was pretty sweet. But again, that requires you to have a prize, an effective prize map, so you can plan 3 or 4 turns ahead, so you know, like, okay, if this is going to die from poison this turn, this is going to be sent up here, I can devolve, and take the final couple prizes, right? Other than that, I've pretty much expressed how this matchup's not the greatest. I will say it is kind of tricky for Gholdengo, because if you Bravery Charm a Klawf, they do have to discard 3 energy for 1 prizer, and that feels really bad for them. And then for the Electrode, if you Bravery Charm it, they have to, like, make it rain for 4, I think? 4 mental energies, or 5? So, it's not as bad as I thought it was initially when I was playing against it, or testing it. You definitely have more game, and you are a more consistent deck overall. Like, I've had games where they get, like, Greninja, Palkia, and then 3 of the, Gimme Ghouls, and I still just win, because I'm like, I take a prize, punch a Gholdengo, Devo, and I'm like, we're good, you know? That's pretty much the prize map for them. Iono helps a lot. That's why we're playing 3 Iono. Helps the same against Tina. Oh yeah, if possible, in this matchup, you should just hit with the Klawfs. Because like I said, you're going to need to win through a TM Devo anyways. And so, if you just slow down the game enough to where like they can't take 2 prizers, and then you just hit them with a TM Devo, usually that's good enough from my experience. Let's actually talk about the mirror. That's kind of fun. The mirror's kind of fun. So, the mirror match, okay? The mirror match is really interesting because you think that it's whoever goes second is favored, which is true, obviously. But the person who's going first isn't like completely out of outplay potential. Because the person who's going first can sit a Brute active, and if you have a Brute Bonnet active with a Capsule, Klawf can't poison it for damage, so Klawf only hits it for 170, which is 10 off of knocking it out, right? If it has a Capsule, it's never going to die to tick anyways. So it forces the person going second to play an Electrode first. And if they play an Electrode first, you can respond to that Electrode with your own Klawf. And then you're actually even in the prize race at that point because you don't have to bench an Electrode to respond to their Electrode, right? So it creates this really cool dynamic where like you want to stick Brutes in the active on turns where you're not able to swing, so then they're kind of swinging into like a wall and they can't really do anything. And then also something to think about is, I mean, obviously if you're playing the mirror, you kind of know their deck list, but is keeping an Iono for when you when they pull ahead, right? Because if you're able to like Iono them on 1 or 2 in a turn where they like where you're able to also like, let's say you an Escape Rope and set up a Brute and you're able to knock it out, and then you can also Iono that turn, right? Then not only is their Brute down, but they also have no cards in hand. But that's another reason, really quick while I'm going to talk about this, why the no beat barrel list is so much smoother and feels better. And it's because we can always have board space for 2 Brutes, 1 Klawf, 1 Trode, or 2 Klawf, 1 Trode, and then the Sneasler or Squawk. We will always have the board space for 2 Brutes, so we don't need the B-Barrel because we don't need to be drawing because our entire setup is done turn 1. We'll have 2 Brutes ready to go turn 1, plus 1 Klawf or Trode. And again, this just takes 1 energy to get going, this takes a Curry just to double the damage. So it takes like 1 extra card, which is very easy to get because we play 12 supporters, we play 3 Research, 3 Arven, Iono, 4 Seal Stone, 4 Trekking Shoes, right? So you don't need the B-Barrel because you're already set up, you're all in turn 1 and you're already set up turn 1. So you don't need the refuel because you're already ahead, you have everything. I'll talk a little bit about, where is it? I'll talk a little bit about Gardevoir. I mean, there's not too much to say. The matchup is horrible, it's hard to win. But TM Devolution gives you a little bit more game. There are some games where they don't get the Curlias up and they just go straight candy to Gardevoir. And in those games you can just respond with the TM Devo and slow them down. Outside of that, you don't really have much game. You do have to switch or save all your switch cards in Escape Rope, so you can't really discard them. Because what they're going to do is they're going to try and catch a Brute Bonnet and then send up Stream Tail, and they're going to try and pick off your bench. And even if you're 2 or 3 prizes ahead, they just catch up so quickly, and you can't Iono them to shut them down because the ability just is their whole setup. I'm sure you guys have played against Gardevoir enough to know how consistent it is once it gets set up. The only hope you have is like, so obviously you're gonna get a guaranteed knockout on turn 1. You just have to hope. If they hit VIP, you can kind of scoop. If they don't hit VIP, and they have like 1 routes on the bench, and that's their only routes, I would say it's worth it, if possible, to just like, let's say you have a boss and a Squawk on board, right? But you also have a Research in hand. You're like, should I just Research and then Squawk and draw like, see 13 cards? Nope, you should just boss up the routes and hope you hit it, because it's such a bad matchup, you just kind of have to hope you're getting the attack off anyways, because like, if it goes on long enough, you're going to lose. So, not really too much else to say about Gardevoir. Tough matchup. You could play the gloves that give you extra 30 damage to Psychic Pokemon, and it does actually hit a breaking point because they attach 3 Psychic Energies to it from the discard, which puts it to 250, and then Electrode plus Poison, Seize, or Burn with the gloves would do 260. but that's really niche, and what it can play around it by just attaching 2 from the discard, 1 from hand, and then you're 10 damage off and back to square one. So that's pretty much it. If you see a lot of Gardevoir, you should probably just play a different deck, unfortunately, because we don't really have any game against it at the moment as a Klawf. So, Mew. Let's talk about Mew, since this is another close matchup. This is a matchup obviously Spiritomb would be great for. If you want to play Spiritomb, all 4 I was playing Spiritomb for a while, and I just never hit Mew, so I cut it. But it's not the only matchup. It's also good against Zard, also good against Snorlax. But I mean, Snorlax is like a 100% matchup for Klawf, anyways. But so Mew VMAX. If you're not getting a knockout turn 1 against this deck, it's probably over because they're just so fast. And you can't one-shot the VMAX, but you can't one-shot Mew, and you can't one-shot Genesect, right? But the problem is, Klawf can one-shot Genesect. Electrode can one-shot Mew, but if you try to flip it, Klawf can't one-shot Mew, and Electrode, it's a lot harder for Electrode to one-shot Genesect, right? To one-shot Genesect, it needs everything. It needs, the Poison, Burn, and Sneasler, right? Because it'll be 230, but it'll go down to 200 because it resists, right? And so if you don't have the Sneasler, though, it goes to 180, which doesn't knock out the Genesect, which is really awkward. So it's like Klawf can hit Genesect fine, Electrode can hit Mew fine, but you can't flip it. So it makes it very tricky to navigate the early game because you have to. That's why I like in this matchup, you should always escape rope before doing anything else because you need to see what they're going to give you to hit into. And if you don't have a boss active and you're not able to choose, let them choose for you and then you respond accordingly by setting up either a Klawf or by setting up an Electrode. Once they get a Mew VMAX active, it becomes super hard to win because you're going to have to hit into it twice. It can one-shot everything. It can Psychic Leap away. I think that's pretty much it for the Mew Genesect. It's just like Klawf can hit Genesect, knock it out, vice versa, with the Electrode to the Mew. Once they get Mew VMAX online, you should never really attack into it. You should try and boss around it if possible. Like, if you have Klawf active, just boss a Genesect, take the knockout. But you really need to avoid discarding bosses in this matchup or escape ropes because that's kind of like your win condition. Because if possible, you should never be attacking into the Mew VMAX because they're just going to Psychic Leap and you're going to lose the game. So, let's talk about the deck everyone hates right now, which is actually my favorite matchup to play. Snorlax Stall. This matchup is Klawf's favorite in the game. This matchup is so free. I have not lost this matchup since I learned how to play it, okay? And this list specifically is so much better. So like, for example, if you start with a Klawf in the active against Snorlax, you can just not play anything else, and you can just wait to draw a Curry, or Arven for a Curry. And then you Curry it, take a knockout, right? And like, okay, they Geocome when you're double turbo. Okay, you Energy Loto, or you Force Seal Stone, you get another one, right? You take another knockout. Or you boss the Rotom on turn 1, which happens like 30% of the game or something. You just like boss the Rotom turn 1, take 2 prizes. And because we play a 3 Iono, we can last a very, very long time against this deck because we run Radiant, Sneasler, and Brute. Eventually, we're going to run out of Switch Carts and Escape Ropes, and we'll have like 2 prizes left, maybe 3 at the worst at that point. Sometimes 1. Sometimes we'll just have 1. And at that point, what we want to do is get Sneasler down, 1 Brute, 1 Klawf, 1 Trode. The Trode is mostly just for Seal Stone, but it can also attack, which is kind of nice. And you want to leave a bench space open. They can Erica's Invitation you to lock you, but in general, you don't really care at that point. Like, there's nothing in this deck you really care that they Erica's down. And if they boss a Brute to keep it active, your Brute's never going to die, but their Snorlax is going to take 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30. And so they have to find a penny every 2 other turns, or their Snorlax is going to die, right? And what some people are like, oh, as a Snorlax player, I'm just going to boss up your Sneasler. And I'm like, okay, guess what? I just Bravery Charm it, and then if you don't vacuum the Bravery Charm, it's going to die coming into my turn, and then I'm going to get a free switch anyways, which is another knockout, right? And even for it to die, like, of poison, or to die of poison, you can Curry it and switch it. Like, you can go Curry, switch it out, and you heal it 40, and they catch it again, that's another 2 turns it takes to knock it out, right? again, so basically what I'm saying is this matchup is super free, but you have to play it slow. You have to play so slow. Do not try and turbo draw with research. You can play like a VIP turn 1, but you don't need to like play a bunch of cards, okay? You don't need to draw a bunch of cards. Just let them slowly tick the Sneasler poison, and you have 3 Iono, so don't play cards, so then you can Iono, and you'll draw 2, you'll have all your 40 cards back in your deck, and now they have to survive for another like 15 turns of Sneasler poison, which they can never do. Yeah, this matchup is so free. You have 2 Switch Cart and you have 2 Escape Rope, right? So turn 1 you get a guaranteed attack, and let's say this card like half your switches, you still have 2 other, and then if they play Mimikyu, it's really nice because they'll Mimikyu to stop Electrode, and then you get Attach Retreat, you get a free retreat, you know. So Snorlax, if you don't like playing against Snorlax, then Klawf is 100% the deck for you because you just farm it. I'm like 15-0 against this deck. I have not lost a Snorlax with Klawf. I think it's like, as long as you're not drawing, it's so hard because like on a turn where they want to find Penny, that's when you can Iono them to like 6 cards, and if they don't hit a Penny, they just lose because that's the poison and take, you know, the prize. That's pretty much it. Okay, I think there's only about 2 or 3 more decks I want to talk about. First one being Chien-Pao. It's not super popular right now, but it will probably make a comeback, you know, soon. And it's definitely not a deck nobody plays. It definitely does have its spot. It's good against a lot of things right now. Chien-Pao is a super good matchup for us actually, because in order for Chien-Pao to knock out our Electrode, they have to have the superior energy retrieval, they have to have the Baxcalibur set up, and they have to discard 3 waters, right? Whereas we play a Curry, and we have Sneasler Brute, right? It's so much easier. Nothing in their deck is unable to be knocked out by us, which is super sweet. And because we're so aggressive, if they don't hit the VIP start, they kind of just instant lose, because we either knock out the Chien-Pao turn 1, or we knock out the 1 Frigibax by Escape Roping or Bossing or whatever, and then they just instantly lose the game, because now they're a turn behind. They're never going to be able to stick it beyond that point because we have 3 boss, right? And so they just fall so far behind. So I rarely lose this matchup. I did lose it at the local recently, but that was because he had a double VIP start. He Pokestopped into like 3 items every turn, and then I did not have a HM Booster Capsule or Town Store or Sealstone in the top half of my deck. So that was pretty rough. So I wasn't able to get a turn 1 knockout, which is super rough. But like I've said, this matchup is super good. I love it when we end up queuing it to Chien-Pao. And another thing is we don't need to use Trode. If we're not getting a for sure knockout with Trode, you don't need to bench it, because we can just hit with Klawfs, set it up to 20 HP, and if they don't attach retreat and set up another attacker, they're going to die to poison coming into your turn, and then you get to knock out something else, and then your 3 prizes up for like 1 or 2, you know? So, Chien-Pao, super good matchup. I don't ever have a problem playing against this, and I don't think you guys should either. Let's talk about our favorite matchup in the game. That is right, Miraidon. I love queuing into this deck because we absolutely farm it, much like Snorlax. I think Snorlax is all the better matchup for us, but I think Miraidon is the closest second. Because again, we don't need to bench Trode in this matchup. We have 2 Energy Loto, we have 4 Klawf, 4 Double Turbo. The way Miraidon will try and do it is they'll try and have a 1 prizer on the bench, 1 prizer in the active, right, in order to play around your Escape Rope. But like, all we need is a Brute, Capsule, Double Turbo, Klawf, and then we can just boss something, right? And a lot of times they can't play around the boss anyways. And we have Bravery Charm for the Iron Hands. You can play Spiritomb even to block like Lumineon or Raikou draw. But overall, this matchup is just so for you one-shot everything with Klawf. Everything. You hit 340. Even through Bravery Charm, the Iron Hands, it goes to like 280. One-shot it. Don't care. And it's so much easier for us to set up because they have to have like 2 or 3 elected generators, and then they have to have another thing set up immediately after. And Miraidon, even if Miraidon goes second, which is what they want to do in this matchup, and hope they can high roll turn 1 knockout, you can just like force like something bad in the active, or like you can have 2 Klawfs and just hold your Double Turbo, or attach it to the bench 1, right? Either one of those plays works fine. This matchup is super good. If you're expecting a lot of Miraidon in a field, you should just play Klawf because you absolutely farm it. And the thing is, Electrode can even attack anyways. Like everything in the deck is 220, 200 flat, which is really nice so you don't need Sneasler, or 230. And without the Bravery Charm, you're just going to knock out anything in the deck anyways, even with Trode. So, if you're expecting a lot of Miraidon, or Snorlax, or Chien-Pao, Klawf Trode is 100% bring, without doubt. Let's talk about probably one of our worst matchups, and then we'll pretty much be done. It's this Iron Valiant Urshifu or Iron Valiant Entei. Okay, I'm just going to kind of bunch them into the same. It's kind of the same idea. Where if you're seeing a lot of Urshifu or Inteleon or Iron Valiant, you should probably not play Klawf because it is way too easy for them to get because they can have 3 and sometimes 4 prize card turns, and so even though we're going 2-2-2 against them, they just go like 1-3-2 and then they catch up and win, right? Because sometimes they can force us to hit into an Urshifu and we can't hit around it. Or we have to hit an artillery or something, or we one-shot Iron Valiant, we one-shot Entei, but them setting up an Entei, or them setting up an Iron Valiant is a lot easier than us setting up an Electrode with Sneasler, with Curry, with Poison, right? These matchups are super hard to play against. You can't hit with Klawf in these matchups. You have to go all in on Electrode, which makes it even worse because now you have Klawf and double Turbo Energy, which are pretty much dead because all you're doing is 200 with that, and that doesn't one-shot anything in the deck. Against Inteleon, it does. Inteleon is the one thing Klawf can hit, which is pretty nice. But Urshifu, Iron Valiant, Entei, Klawf can't do anything against them. You have to hit with the Trode, and you have to have all the pieces, which makes it very difficult to play against. So, if possible, you should try to avoid those matchups. Obviously, if you can't, what you need to do is bait them into a Devolution play or into a Collapsed Stadium play. So, if you have Squawk or a Trode that they've set up a lot of damage on, like sometimes I'll even force Sealstone just for the Collapsed, just so I can like get it off the bench, because that in some ways I've scammed games where I go up 2 prizes turn 1, their turn 2 is like a G-Max Rapid Flow or something of the sort with like a double gunner, like they're basically spreading all the damage, right? And then you can like Curry Switch Cart to heal a lot of it, or you could just like Escape Rope Collapsed, and you remove the like Electrode that has like, I don't know, 120 whatever damage on it, or Squawk for example. Then it becomes a lot more awkward for them to finish the game because now they wasted like 120 damage on something they can't finish off anymore. They're not getting a prize for. And you can Iono them obviously when they get ahead. So outside of like saving Iono for a turn where they're like they need to like completely finish the game, it's really rough, but it's not completely unwinnable. But I would say Iron Valiant Entei and Urshifu Inteleon, or Urshifu Iron Valiant, are the worst 2 matchups for our deck. Besides Gardevoir, but Gardevoir's like a 0%, so we gotta talk about Gardevoir. These matchups are at least winnable, whereas Gardevoir, I feel like if you don't scam them turn 1 or donk them, it's not really winnable, because they can just slow the game down, whereas Urshifu and Inteleon, they kind of have a fast pace as well, and they can whiff, whereas Gardevoir doesn't really whiff, so. That's pretty much most of the meta matchups right now. I don't really have any other deck I want to, or I care to talk about. I think I've covered pretty much everything. Obviously, there's going to be off-meta stuff that, you know, is a weird matchup that you're going to have to learn, but for all the meta stuff right now, you can kind of get an idea of how you're supposed to play, how each matchup is supposed to go out, and like I said, with TMD Evolution. Now, let me get the deck list back up. 1 second. Okay. With TM Devo, you now have a lot more game against those matchups, which is super nice. The Energy Loto has been a super sweet addition. And again, because we're playing 12 basics, we get Switch Cart is now back online, which is super sweet against all these like spread decks. And it also is just like, I don't know, it's just good, consistent deck. The best part about our deck is that we can scam bad matchups, right? A lot of decks, like Charizard and stuff, you can't really scam a bad matchup because you're not that aggressive. Like, you're aggressive, like, you're hitting turn 2, but this is like hitting turn 1 every game, and hitting turn 2 every game, hitting turn 3. And so you create this, like, super aggressive besides Gardevoir, some decks will just get run over by. If, like, for example, Inteleon, like, bad matchup, but if you knock out their Inteleon turn 1, they're like, I can't do anything now, you know, they're behind. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say with this video. If you did hang out and watch the whole thing, I super appreciate it. I just wanted to share my thoughts and get this out before the new year. So if you guys want to play it on this next season, for the January season, or the Portland, for example, then you have this deck as a guide. This is, like I said, my favorite list. I think this is the near perfect 60, besides maybe like a Spiritomb, Jirachi, Manaphy, some type of basic like tech card that you want to add. I think everything else is super core right now, and I wouldn't really touch it. I'm really happy with how I've gotten to the deck. I've played like nearly 1,000 games with it over the past like 2 months, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. Again, I think it's a deck that will actually survive into rotation as well. Yes, you lose Battle VIP and you lose Curry, but you can just cut the Trode, and you don't really need to be a Battle VIP because all you need to attack with Klawf is Klawf, Brute Bonnet, Capsule, and then like Sneasler for 200, right, or Squawk. Again, I think it's going to survive rotation. It's going to be super sweet, but we'll have to see what other decks come out. And there is a little card. I'll give you guys a little bit of sauce. I don't know if this card is going to be actually good, but that I've been considering playing. Where is it? After rotation, right? So, this card right here, this Sableye. Whoops. So, little sauce here. I could be crazy, but this is my bold prediction for post-rotation. If Klawf is good, we can play a version with this card, right? If your opponent's active, the Sableye, for 1 Dark Energy, it does 20 plus 70 more for 1 Dark Energy. So turn 1, you're hitting for 90, and then plus 10 for the Poison, and plus 20 if you have Sneasler. So turn 1, 1 Dark Energy, 120. And then obviously the Night Eye's ability is also not, like, attacks is not the worst, putting them to sleep. So this could be some sauce, and again, if they have a Psychic EX, you just hit him for 240 with weak, or sorry, not 240, 180 with weakness, but then 210 with poison, right? Not really sure if this Sableye is going to ever be good. I did order some of them as singles for my deck just for post-rotation. For some reason, like, there's a dark weak deck that becomes super good and Klawf is still playable. I'm 100% going to play like a copy or 2 of these. But that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you guys for watching. Like I said, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button if you want me to continue doing Klawf updates. I think I'm just going to stick with Klawf Electrode and really try to refine the matchups and post-rotation, get some good updates for it, because that's all I really play. It's all I enjoy playing. I don't really care to play any other deck right now. I've been doing well at my locals with it. I got 2nd and 9th at my local. The 9th was just to a bad tiebreaker, or it would have been top 8. But the only matchup I've been losing to at the locals was Urshifu, and been farming everything else. Been farming Zard, Miraidon, Mew, stuff like that. So, yeah, be sure to go Klawf some people this next month, alright? Get this deck going. Maybe we can get some bigger eyes on it. Some people who also feel like doing some deck building. But, I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, I think I have the best list for this. So, if you want to bring it to Portland or you want to play with it, this is the list to play. I'll put it back on the screen one more time for everyone. It'll be in the description if you want to just copy-paste it. You're a little lazy like me. So, anyways, that's all I have for you guys. Take it easy. Hope you all have a happy new year, had a wonderful Christmas, and I will see you guys a week or 2 from now. Bye-bye!